They can own that tiebreaker. And there's the Nidalee ban immediately.
So Chaser has drawn Nidalee bans ever since Trace and Chaser played the Nidalee Maokai combo against CJ Entus 2 series ago. Kallista's the fast ban. Just don't want to have to deal with that if we get towards the tail end of this draft. Rai actually banned on the blue side, so not a Marin champion. I just want to take it off the table despite the fact that Trace really been defaulting to the likes of Rumble and Maokai, who so far have made it through the bans.
What's interesting about that, for me, as we see Rek'Sai taken away from Chaser, is that I see Marin playing Ryze in solo queue quite frequently, and he has for a long time, yet SKT has not been a team to prioritize that pick.
I mean, to the extent of banning it on blue side, right? If you ban it on the blue side, you're not even considering it as a champion in the rotation. Gragas is banned away, so the Rumble versus Maokai matchup certainly looms large, as we expected the target bans to come through, and so far the only targets set by SKT have been against the jungler.
And Bengi, not the big Gragas player, you have to think. Where is Chase? Bengi always makes the weirdest faces in the booth. So Evelynn, first pick.
So we don't have the natural Rek'Sai counterplay with the Tremor Sense. Will we see Chaser go to another early presence jungler to try and balance out, or are Jin Air confident enough to pick strong lanes and try and baby Chaser through on the likes of a Sejuani?
No. That was one of the big problems when Cinderhulk came into play, is that Jin Air played very poorly with Sejuani.
Sure.
So I think this is a calculated draft from SK Telecom.
So where does Chaser go then? Because to match pressure with an Evelynn, there's a very limited pool of junglers that can do that.
Yeah, well, we're not going to find out this round. Rumble and Annie, the likely grabs for Jin Air. They haven't been forced out of their comfort zone. You were saying, and I agree, that Che has been powerful on those pick supports. He's going to get one. Trace is just going to play Rumble one more time, his bread and butter this season. And Bang, probably going to take Corki, honestly. Corki Maokai, very safe, very SK Telecom picks.
And Maokai, naturally, over the course of this season, has been edging out Rumble in terms of the 1v1 matchup. We've seen Maokai maintain an average 20 CS advantage in that particular matchup, so I guess we shouldn't be surprised that Rumble versus Maokai is where we go with the top lane. Now we're waiting to see where the draft goes. We've got support and top lane accounted for. What did Jin Air want to lock now as we see GBM flash the Master Yi? Why not?
If anybody was going to be pulling off those kind of shenanigans, you see GBM having a laugh in the booth, it would be GBM. And just as a reminder, over their careers, and this is a very interesting statistic about SK Telecom, this Corki and this Maokai, Bang is 20-1 all time on Corki, and Marin is 18-1 all time on Maokai. These are picks that SK Telecom performs with day in, day out, and there is Chaser's Rengar. Oh my. I am very worried. I really don't like Rengar.
Look, we've seen Fizz jungle this season. You don't like that. We've seen a lot of things that they're trying to put out early pressure, maybe going too far. Rengar, at least, is prototypically a jungler, but this is a big risk and a big gambit when SKT have already chosen fairly safe lanes. They'd only selected the Corki and Maokai so far, but not eminently gankable lanes for a Rengar.
Okay, well, what this says, though, and we could very well see, Lulu is actually a very good mid lane choice for Jin Air in this particular situation, because that is going to be going hard into a pick comp, a mid-game pick comp. Jin Air has to get those kills and make a huge, huge snowball in the mid-game. It'll depend, I suppose, on which mid laner they pick, but they're pretty committed to this at this stage. Faker would be bold, I think, to pick the Victor into this, but Faker doesn't care. Victor is the selection. Faker wants to keep that undefeated streak alive, and it will be a Cassio lock.
A Cassio insta-locked by GBM. It did cry out for a Lulu, but it would have been certainly on the lower damage front of team comps. Now goes for the Cassiopeia, opting into this lane matchup that we've kind of seen go either way, but certainly one that the Cassiopeia was winning quite landslidely when Goong was playing it last series.
I'm shocked to report this, but Rengar is actually 2-1 this season in Champions. It's been KT with the victories on it.
Do you remember one of those games that went over an hour and was very hijinksy?
Yeah, it was. They didn't win because of the Rengar. I will say that. I know Rengar can create big snowballs, but it's high risk. So Jin Air, they want to make this work. I'm actually a bit surprised they didn't take the Lulu because early last season they played a lot of Lulu Rengar, Jin did, and they used it with the speed boost to get picks very effectively. And it's a composition, the Lulu Sivir, that's worked for them before, but instead going to put in a little bit of scaling here. Faker's positioning will be paramount because Jin has a ton of threat on to Victor.
And we wondered where the aggression would come from the jungle. It looked like the Lee Sin was going to be flashed by Chaser. Look, you get more information about Evelyn's positioning when you pop the thrill of the hunt, but feast or famine, that's what's coming from the jungle.
All right, SK Telecom versus Jin game 1. Let's go. Number 1 versus number 2 here in Champions Korea. It will be SK Telecom T1 versus the Jin Green Wings. Jin picking a risky pick composition. They've got great chase down. They've got great skirmish. But if SKT manages to group in the late game, that could be it for them. The tankiness is rather oppressive from SK Telecom's side, and Faker wants to keep his unbeaten streak on Victor alive. That would be a nice feather in his cap in this game.
A lot of weight of numbers on the side of SKT. You're talking about the win rate from Bang. Even just this season, 6-0, it's loomed as a very comfortable pick. Played 3 out of his 4 last games, so has been defaulting his way to the Corki. SKT went on a vision excursion to the blue side of Jin, but they were spotted out by a nice defensive ward. So there is information extra for Jin.
Yeah. I have to imagine they really want to avoid this Sivir Annie lane early. This is a big threat to the Corki. But it looks like we will get standard lanes after all. Red buff start here from Chaser. All eyes on Chaser. He has to make the... It really revolves around his play, I feel, whether Jin can succeed in this game. And Faker, by the way, if he does win this game, he will move to 6-0 all-time on Victor.
It's a strange spot where Evelyn is seen as the more reliable late-game jungler, but that's kind of how it's evolved in this particular game. You're just so single-target focused. Your jungle clear is just not particularly wonderful on the Rengar, so you really need to make it work in the laning phase. His power around brushes in general is unparalleled, but such risk played by Chaser.
And, you know, I thought maybe SK Telecom coming into this series would just play Nunu and just try and control Chaser and keep vision on him all the time so he can't make those big ganks on the lanes that he's so well known for. But that is not going to be the case. In essence, they do give him a lot more freedom, and especially with a pick like Rengar, some very high pressure early in this one. So he's got the kill pressure in the bottom lane.
Speaking of pressure, Bengi was poking his head around bot lanes, walking towards the enemy blue buff. Of course, the jungle follow means that there was a lot more pressure on the top side jungle for Jin than on the bot side, but Chase is walking in that direction.
Risky buff steal here from Bengi, but he has the trinket ward to get the information he needs about Chaser. And Chaser's going to lose his blue buff. Not particularly impactful if you are a Rengar.
Worth noting that they had lane pressure and bottom lane did SKT, so definitely risky, but on the lower end of the risk spectrum in that particular regard.
I love the risk spectrum. It's my favorite part of League of Legends.
Chase is spotted out. You mentioned the blue buff going away. It'll hurt him in terms of experience. Maybe it'll delay the throw of the hunt a little bit, but as you mentioned, the grand scheme of things, not massive.
But Bengi also took the crab, so there's actually nothing on that side of the map for Chaser to go for anymore. And the race to level 6, as you're saying, will be delayed. Chaser just going to put his trinket ward down and recall, having to head back up to the top side. And that's very smart jungling by Bengi, too, because he knows that Chaser would prefer to be haunting the side of the map with the Annie on it, instead of having to go up into the top side with Trace, where there's not that follow-up CC to the same degree.
And we're going to see if this tenuous matchup in top, Rumble versus Maokai. Actually, Captain Jack taking a lot of damage. Chase pretty healthy, though, but Jack really DPS'd out of this bot lane.
Yeah, this is, not sure what the trade that happened there was, but definitely in favor of Corki, a little bit unusual considering that Corki generally doesn't do that well against Sivir in the early levels, and Annie does present a big crowd control threat. Maybe Wolf actually managed to land a hook.
We were watching Trace on the Rumble last series that, of course, he won an MVP for in the 2-0 win against Najin. He's very good at getting denied in general as a top laner, so he's probably not going to draw a lot of jungle pressure. Maybe when Chaser hits 6 if there's no other suitable lane, but with, of course, Annie in the bot lane, it's usually a great lane to gank for, as you mentioned. DPS trades in mid. Expecting Rumble just to get denied, 4 behind CS, the 20 CS mark that we've seen quite commonly. Is Rengar's only true ganking option the bottom lane?
Yeah, that's the question. I mean, maybe if GBM hits a Petrifying Gaze, but Faker...
Cleanse on Faker?
Yeah, Cleanse on Faker. He's going to get rid of one of those CCs immediately, so there has to be more to the follow-up. And GBM not taking Ignite, opting for the very defensive heal. That's what we expect from GBM as a player, though, is more defensive style, conservative play out of the mid lane. We've seen him end many losses with 0 deaths. Just kind of the way he rolls. Not to say that he's not effective, because he absolutely is. He just tends to play back pretty far.
So let's recap then. Not going to be a lot of lane pressure top, just because that's how they like to play with Trace on a champion like Rumble. You already mentioned that GBM more conservative around mid. Doesn't that really tip the hand of Jin Air's playstyle when they lock in a Rengar who really needs to get those ganks off? It's either going to be bot lane or it's going to be farm time for Chaser.
Yeah, well, so far the answer has just been farm time. Chaser farming hard for level 6. And if he's moving down here at this timing, yeah, you can see the pings going down. He wants to gank bottom as suspected. There we go. Jack gonna flash in, actually. Bengi and Wolf get stunned, though. Nice spell shield from Captain Jack.
He was actually a bit slow on that particular ability in the previous series. Again, they've won 2-0, so it didn't prove to be a critical factor, but definitely had his wits around him. Going to be spotted by Ward. They clear it, but Chase's time not optimally used.
No, certainly not. And without any camps here, besides the Scuttle Crab, he will be delayed just a bit further, even in farm so far. Boy, am I glad to see not a Cinder Hulk Rengar like Tucson was playing yesterday. Wow, nice spell shield again.
Cinder Hulk Lee Sin's right up there with Cinder Hulk Rengar and
I
Devourer Fizz.
I would much rather see a Cinder Hulk Lee Sin than a Cinder Hulk Rengar. That is the ultimate crime against jungling, Papa Smithy.
How about Devourer Fizz jungle?
You got me.
You have your favorites, Monty, that's for sure.
Well, jungle sinning is way up there in terms of crime to me, Papa Smithy.
High on the list of commandments.
No item sitting in the jungle. Well, it's not going to happen this game. And the reason why I don't like it is that if you commit to a strategy, then commit to it. As we see Equalizer go down right there, just a little bit of trading from Trace. Nice job, actually. He's getting close to overheating. Martin may have to flash. No, not quite. That was awfully close.
Man, what damage a Rumble can do with no damage items, with one full rotation of spells. 100 to 30% health on the Maokai.
Not even any. He has a Doran's shield.
That's what I'm saying. No combat shields whatsoever.
Yeah, very nice. So that'll force Marin's TP at the very least. So TP advantage to Jin Air right now. They could look for a big scrap. Here's a pink ward. They don't know They do not know Chaser is there. There we go. He's going to go in. Bola right now. Gravity field down all over. But that's going to be first blood for Bengi. They're turning it around. And here comes the teleport on its way in. Trace using that advantage. No equalizer, though. Bengi going to use the chilling smite. GBM getting low. There is Bang coming up for the bottom lane. Bengi going to live. Faker with a kill. Jack slow and not level 6. That will be a huge determining factor. TP used, but 1 for 2. And that is a victory for SK Telecom. Faker coming through.
A 1 for 2 when they're the ones that expended the summoner teleport. It was a massive mistake by Chaser. He actually came out with his passive from the brush onto the ward instead of being able to get onto any of the damage threats. Just took free DPS and died for first blood. Big mechanical mistake from Chaser on a champion we already found it difficult to justify, this Rengar.
Yeah, and that is the thing. You want to pick Rengar in this meta, you have to be picture perfect. That first ult is so important to getting a snowball rolling. It's now gone. He has to wait for the thrill of the hunt one more time. And, oh, that is rough. GBM gets a kill, but that's going to be about it. They couldn't equalize onto Bengi.
Now the Warrior enchant even further delayed. When they increase the flat cooldown on the ultimate, you really want to pick up that item or a kill to justify what is now going to be passive farming for a little while. They don't lose any of their blue buffs. That's been a common contest point by SKT, is power around the enemy blue. But for now, GBM rocking that buff and getting to stack up his tier.
Now this is a bit of a dire situation now. Faker with the lead on one of his best champions at the moment in the mid lane. We've seen what Faker can do even when behind on Victor. If you think back to that CJ game 1 where it looked like CJ was definitely on the road to victory, and then Faker just stepped up on Victor, completely turned it around.
Probably the most impressive carry performance of the season in a game where, you know, they went on to win quite comfortably, but that game 1 in particular doesn't stick out in the memory, but it was a wonderful display by Faker.
Yeah, definitely. So, Trace on the top side went for Merc Treads first. That's a bit curious.
Lost a lot of respect to the CC and damage combos coming through from Evelyn and Maokai. Of course, it'll scale well. Maybe he's just looking for the fast home guard boots for some fighting around the dragon, but it's a lot of money spent on your first pair of boots.
I do think that actually is smart. You going for home guard first when you're so focused on the early and mid game can be wise. They're going to try and gank him, but Chaser's here. So is Annie. SKT doesn't know. Great equalizer. And can they lock down Marin? Marin is going to go down on a Chaser. He picks up the kill by popping his ultimate. Marin actually trades 1-for-1 in a 2v3. So Jin Air makes the aggressive move, but once again, this Rengar can't quite close the deal.
Yeah, twice punished for making the aggressive move. It's an excellent bait. They've done this twice in a row. Cleared a ward, baited in and engaged. They're just using more resources and only trading evenly, which is why you see the gold lead to SKT far more than just the 1 kill. They are in the advantage.
Well, not even trading evenly. Last time they actually fell behind a kill on that engage. With the boots of mobility on Chaser, he's 0, 2, and 2. You cannot be there. So SKT, they have comfort picks. They have picks with huge, huge wins. Marin's Maokai, Fang's Corki, all-time greats on these champions, and now you're behind.
Not much more to say about that. Chaser really needs to make something special happen with his 3rd activation to throw the hunt. Their smart skirmishes, it's just they got the instant kill onto Annie, then he re-engaged and effectively handed a kill on a silver platter to Maokai just because there aren't the base stats there to be scrapping extensively as Rengar.
At the same time, you do have to be a little greedy if you're Jin Air and you want to play this composition. If you just let Maokai go and you get 1 kill, is that really enough for Jin Air at this point in time? I'm not sure the answer is yes. I'm sure you take a minor win, but you have to snowball crazily right now, or else Rengar is just not going to do anything in the late game.
I guess worth noting to me that Che was up top, and despite that, Captain Jack's still almost dead even in CS. They weren't losing much despite rotating Annie. SKT, with all the pressure of the last few skirmishes, picks up the first dragon.
And they had TP advantage. Trace still waiting on his. Faker is nicely chunked out that mid lane. Faker going for Morello Nomicon. Faker, of course, likes to get that early Lich Bane for kiting when he can. Instead, chooses to get the 2nd upgrade on his Hex Core.
Already got quite a lot of mobility, so the kiting is definitely a factor once you get the 30% movement speed on every gravity transfer Q. Trace working towards an Abyssal Scepter, so not committing to the home guard boots just yet. Getting as much laning stats as possible, and of course, the Abyssal Scepter is going to be very relevant, but will they be having 2 of them given that GBM's already built a Negatron?
Well, it certainly will. It's power transfer, not gravity transfer. That would
My
be
bad.
That would be you know, you get to get jump higher when he uses it or something like that.
That's fair.
And there we go. Fail ult from Chaser. Great just timing on the back from Marin. Didn't know that Rengar was there, but had a sense. He's like, well, screw this. I'm just going to go for Grump instead. Okay, goodbye mid lane.
Faker not getting the solo kills this game, but pushing GBM out of lane, picking up the turret very early at 14 minutes, solo taking down a turret. suddenly there's less safe places for Cassiopeia to farm, and Cassio's an eminently gankable jungler. Sure, it's not Jarvan gankling the Cassio, but if she ever pushes up down a long lane, intense kill pressure onto mid.
We talked about this with Jin Air, these weird picks that they have.
So you're not feeling the Rengar.
Not feeling the Rengar. It's just, with Jin Air, it seems they lack confidence in themselves sometimes, where they feel like they have to have these counter picks or these surprising strategies, but it's been when they just play meta that I think Jin Air has looked their best. They've looked their smartest and strongest. So why... It's almost like intimidation causes them to pick champions like Yasuo or Rengar that don't necessarily have the same strategic flexibility as standard meta compositions. And we're really seeing that here. And you can't really make any bones about it. They may only be 2K behind, and under a lot of circumstances you say, well, this game is probably pretty likely you can come back for this. Well, it really is not. With this composition, it's very unlikely that Jin Air is going to be able to engineer a big comeback unless SKT chooses to be caught out in picks around crucial objective timings, and that's really not something SKT does.
If Chaser and GBM can be some sort of assassin duo onto Faker, because of course you can do some pretty creative engages with the throw of the hunt. Chaser needs to be able to get down the CC, get a decent burst of damage, because he's going to die in whatever kill trade he goes for. But if they trade up, if they're trading Chaser for Faker, maybe there's a team fight they can look to salvage. Because if they let this next dragon go down, if they let this game just continue at this pace for another 10 minutes, Rengar's irrelevance will be confirmed.
Well, I'm not sure entirely that it hasn't been confirmed already. Bang's entering his power spike. The Trinity Force. As we speak, 1-0 to Dragons already for SK Telecom. Jin Air with no early game objectives. They've also lost that mid lane turret, so it's going about as badly as it can.
As you mentioned, 2 Abyssal Scepters already completed. Suddenly, the power that you get from completing the recipe. Look, there might be some sort of divided fight where both Che and one of the selfish users like Trace or GBM will get the aura, but it's certainly not ideal use of resources when you're already behind in gold.
Dark times. Well, SKT still just playing patiently. All they have to do is wait. All they have to do is wait.
Speaking of waiting, Chase is not clearing any camps. He's sticking around bottom lane, already a level behind Bengi. Looking for this optimistic pick, but SKT, they just push waves and back away, and there's just no space for Chase to get in. They're going to try again, though.
Here we go. Siverold has to be popped. There's the flash Tibbers. There is the lockdown. Bang falls, but what can they take off of this? Dragon still a minute and a half away. Only a single minion. They're just going to run at the turret with Tibbers. They do not have the damage to take that out.
They definitely do not. We can see Nautilus walking towards bottom. Are they going to hard commit to try and take this turret? No, Faker's even going to relieve pressure and walk straight down the river. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's ensuring they lose no objective despite committing multiple ultimates and 2 flashes to kill Bang.
Yeah, huge cost to that with not really much in return. Sure, they got the kill, but that isn't worth very much right now with their current deficit and the fact that they're not going to be able to take a dragon off of it. They're not going to be able to even take a turret. You can see Faker just pushing up mid lane, then coming bot lane and doing the same, ensuring that Jin Air just has nothing at all.
So the big issue is that GBM has no lane pressure whatsoever in mid. Because his turret was taken down so early, he's basically been backing or sitting under his inner turret, allowing Faker free roam to walk around, pick up buffs, respond to aggression. GBM just cannot force any aggression in mid because there's a lot of pick pressure. There's Marin who can come in with a targeted CC. Cassiopeia is a lane-dominating champion, but when the laning phase is effectively ended so early when she's lost her turret, she's kind of stuck in this position where she needs to push if she's going to farm, and then she just lacks any control.
Yeah, and she just can't push right now, especially with all the lack of wards in their own jungle. You can see SK Telecom just lighting up that bottom side of Jin Air. Another turret, and look at the lane assignments from SKT as well. Faker goes bottom. Then we just see Bang respawn, push the mid lane. They have total control. World's easiest dragon.
with the amount of vision they have, there's literally no risk of even a flank, given they have 3 pink wards committed to defensively around their red side jungle. SKT, picture perfect League of Legends.
Yeah, the warding too. Look at how deep they are. These very deep wards in the bottom side ensure that there's like 0 chance of a surprise Rengar because they will see him before he ults. Even without the pink ward. Yeah, this is very respectful warding. Usually you'd see some of the wards in a little bit further, a little bit tighter to the dragon, but not in this case.
It's unique champions who have those really rapid gank paths, the likes of Rengar, Rammus back when he was in the meta. You would go for those deeper wards. So still respecting Chaser, even though he's effectively an ult stun bot with his E, and then will die inevitably in any sort of AoE trade.
Captain Jack in the unenviable position of sitting and farming next to his tier 2 while Faker starts to move in on the enemy jungle. He feels very safe, as well he should. Lichbane? He probably should go Lichbane here because of the speed and engage. He has to have that speed to kite. And nope. Going to be actually a needlessly large rod, so straight AP. Bit bold, bit bold.
It's surprising given how the game's evolved, especially given his lane assignment has been the bottom lane and they've set up so many defensive vision. Lichbane really jumped out as the obvious itemization, but again, more burst focus, more instant wave clear focus does SKT rotate with Bang on this Trinity Force power spike. And what's Trace to do?
Well, there are, in terms of his itemization. Oh, Chaser going to come in, gets Wolf with the root, and there's the Timbers follow-up. Can they get the kill? Nice root onto Bengi as well. Really good play from Jin Air. They want to go bold. They're all grouped together, but they can only get 1 kill at the end of the day. And here comes Faker. More turret pressure with this Victor. And how many times have we seen Faker playing aggressively, just autoing turrets in the mid game on this Victor? He's so confident in his abilities in a 1v1 that he plays quite boldly. GBM wants to get an angle. He's going to lose the tower, though. Has to dodge the Death Ray. Faker, Gravity Field, goes in with the Chaos Storm. Trace is there, too. Faker still playing in this lane, not afraid. Wow.
He has so much information about what's below him on the blue side jungle and enough information about the top side that this is what opens up Faker to play this game. It's almost like he's playing basketball with his own ball, just doing whatever he wants, and there's nothing GBM or Jin Air can do to stop him.
Well, they're 4K gold down with the Rengar now. The hopes of winning this game have long since dwindled in the distance, barring some sort of massive disaster and meltdown from SK Telecom. And when they're playing this tight, doesn't seem that you can really bank on that one.
So when you have an aggressive playstyle like Faker, who always had that aggressive streak ever since his first series, and the excellent warding of his team, 70 CS advantage odd in the mid lane, solo taking both the outer and the inner turrets. And now he's just going off on his merry split push way. Split push Victor, it's a new one.
Well, that's how Faker plays it, honestly. That's how we've seen him play it. He's not just content with dominating his lane and playing very far forward. He constantly puts that tower pressure down. We've seen him 1v3 people and still auto-attack turrets, and everyone is so afraid of Faker's Victor that they can't get him off objectives. He plays this champion different than anyone else I have seen play it.
Especially given that, the innate kit doesn't really necessarily lend itself towards split pushing. Good duelist, good at zoning under turrets, for example, putting down the gravity field and then having a Trinity Force Corki auto attack. But when it comes to split push, isn't the most escapable champion. It's the reason that people opt into Assassins against Victor. But when you have your team playing around, when you have that aggression, the results, they're impressive to see.
Yeah, and it's not only that yes, he is vulnerable to those all-ins, but Faker in these all-ins frequently just outplays people. So he'll always, it seems, trade evenly with the Victor, if not kill 2 people for the 1. So it doesn't really matter if he dies. There is a death cap. Oh my. Faker's items right now, double upgrades on the Hex Core, Morellonomicon, and death cap under 24 minutes into this game. It's 23 minutes and he has 276 CS. What?
So I'm just wondering, which of these particular metrics do you want to focus on? It's 24 minutes, and he's got 280 CS. He's got about 500 AP. He's got more than 20 AP per minute. He's all of the particular metrics, he is just blowing away.
I mean, that level of CS in the current meta, when we used to see a lot more mid laners in Season 2 farming the jungle, farming the wraiths over and over, you could hit numbers like that much easier. Hitting it now, that's unbelievable.
The unique thing about Victor, one of the reasons why he's suited to this split push role, the Lion wave clear means that he walks up to a minion wave and before it even meets another one, instant clears it. And of course, when you're averaging 20 AP a minute, very easy to instant clear those waves. But all these things add together. It's why his playstyle evolves this way, is that he understands so well his damage output, his split push potential, where the wards are around the map, and where he can defensively move to if he is ganked. Once again, throw the hunt used onto a very tanky Marin.
Yeah, Marin, is he actually going to die here? There's the second route. There we see the Tibbers, and looks like Marin will die to the gank, but every time they do that, they give up something else. This time it's going to be a dragon. In the end, it will be kill and a turret for a dragon. That's about all Jin Air can do right now, you have to say, but that's third dragon of the game already for SK Telecom. That is a very good trade as they power into the late game.
Yeah, the gold still stays very competitive, but the objectives really start to win. That's actually the ultimate used onto Trace, but he can get away.
Yeah, does flash though. Does flash for it. They want GBM Bengi around the side. There's the ultimate. Agony's Embrace forces the flash.
Tried to be cute, tried to bait out the ultimate, but GBM wasn't having any of it.
More CS for Faker. Thank you, Che. Free 50 gold with the Tibbers. As Faker comes up.
Calls Wolf off of the ward. He needs to add that to his list of gold. Doesn't pick up the pink ward though, but much easier for him to farm out another cool 150 gold or so.
Well, what is the next item going to be? That pure AP giving him that huge amount of burst. And for once not going for that early Lich Bane like we talked about. This has been kind of his bread and butter build on the Victor recently.
Keeping the AP high, of course, keeps that line minion wave that we just saw on your screen instantaneous. So walking around, hoovering up minion waves, hoping to finally break this top outer turret.
Wow. Such fast pushing.
Level 16 to the level 14 of GBM and everyone else. Chase level 11. There's a 5-level difference between mid lane and enemy support.
And look at this. SKT just gives Faker the isolation gold on the top lane turret. Had like one hit left on that objective, and he gets that too. When we last checked in, and this was about 5-6 minutes ago, Faker was 2,200 gold up on GBM. I shudder to think what it is now.
SKT, you mentioned it in the pregame. We've mentioned it for years now. Faker focused. This was always the way. Even in metas that maybe favored AD carry focus, they were still a mid-focused team. This game seems like that to the nth degree. Calling off allies to pick up selfish farm, going for this build so he can split push. It's all on Faker, but man, already, as you mentioned, 2,700 gold ahead of GBM.
Yeah, and when we talk about the way teams play it, here we go. Trace comes in with the equalizer. There is the pick again. Jin Air makes it work, but can they follow up? Gravity Field just going to stun the bear. But where's the follow-up here? There's no dragon to be taken. There's nothing. Faker just going to walk into the mid lane, see if there are any wolves, and then keep on pushing. Now, can they stop this siege? This is a great power spike for SK Telecom. It's like they're not going to go for it. They just want the pressure, and then they can walk back and move through the enemy jungle. So Jin Air, they've gotten the last few picks. They have done well to continue to boost their kill score. They are ahead in kills, but is it enough? It's not.
Yeah, again, it's one of those things where you can get the picks, but pick into objective is where League of Legends went back in Season 3. It's one of the reasons that World Elite as a team fell away, is that OMG understood the pick objective playstyle. And to the nth degree, once again, SKT, they're giving up picks, but they're not giving up any significant objectives. One turret down, no dragons. It's not going to be a complete shutout in terms of objectives, but SKT's trading up, even though they're losing in terms of kill trades.
Yeah, and here we go. TP coming in for Marin. There's the zip on the home guard. GBM actually just going to use Flash to try and get away. Great disengage from the Bola, but here we go. Nope, not going to be able to pursue. So nice attempt there by Marin. Trace TPing into the fight.
Faker has a void stuff.
Yes, he does. Captain Jack Martin going in once again. He's so tanky already. Equalizer going to come down at the choke, and Bengi has to flee. There's the gravity field to prevent the re-engage. So SK Telecom getting a bit too big for their britches. Chaser wants the re-engage. They have the Tibbers, but fast disengage from SK Telecom. They're going to lurk in the Baron pit after clearing out the ward. Jin Air doesn't have the Rengar ultimate to engage this any longer, just the Annie.
And crucially, don't have the equalizer to force bad trades for SKT, whether they're clearing vision or attempting to take the Baron. So drawing out that ultimate is actually very significant for SKT, especially with Faker having all his skills and summoners available.
Yeah, he's just got everything, every tool to use. Jin Air starting to get very nervous about this Baron. They know they need to push forward as a unit.
Faker's actually not in the bush.
Oh, Trace, there we go. There's the Nautilus ultimate depth charge. That's going to be Trace knocked up, hooked, and dead. Bang with the kill.
And this is definitely Baron time for SKT. They've been averaging, what, a 24, 25-minute Baron. Definitely been picking that objective a lot faster than their contemporaries. They have good control around the area, but they're not satisfied with just one pick, even though Trace, when he respawns, doesn't have teleport available.
And they're all going to pile back into the Baron pit. Still a few wards, but no wards directly on the objective. SKT just going to go for it. Chaser here.
8,000 health, so still quite healthy.
Chaser has ult. They have to be careful about this. He's actually just going to use his ult right now. Is he going to jump into the pit? He's waiting, he's waiting, he's waiting. He's going to jump in, and he's going to die very quickly. Faker actually gets the kill and the Baron in one go. Bengi slowing GBM up right now. Che on the retreat. Lots of poke coming in from Corky Rocket's heal actually used to get in range of this Annie. Annie just getting poked to death by Rockets. That equalizer does nothing to save the Jin Air support's life. And that'll be SKT with the Baron equalizing on kills in this game.
And you thought the split push from Faker was scary before. Now he has the Baron buff minions to help him out, and just going to occupy Trace's time as they pick up their unanswered 4th dragon.
SK Telecom, man.
They seem pretty good at League of Legends, Monte Cristo.
You might say that. You might say that. And in the next game, I really hope we see Jin Air just go back to what's worked for them. And I think they were a bit bamboozled by all the jungle bans and the jungle pick first on Evelyn, but it's really worked for SKT. If Jin Air's on the blue side, they may be able to orchestrate something similar to what shut down their jungle picks in this game.
I mean, my worry is, though, Monte Cristo, that we talked about the fact that Jin Air had an excellent plan A. Their plan B was okay, but we were worried that their playbook was only a couple of pages thick. This game, there was definitely some targeted bans and takeaways towards Chaser, but there's basically comfort left for everyone else, and still, SKT have steamrolled Jin Air.
Yeah, played very well around the early game, but again, SKT also getting these comfort picks. Victor, Corky, Maokai. I mean, SKT doesn't have to do anything that is outside of their comfort zone either. So Martin going to go in with the Righteous Glory just for zoning. And that'll be a quick turret and inhibitor. Jack just gets jumped on. And okay, Flash Chaos Storm. Faker with the kill.
810 AP at 32 minutes.
Well, that's what happens when Faker gets the lion's share of the farm. They're definitely putting the power onto their most powerful player. Equalizer going to try and just stall out this game, but it is not enough. Faker chases Trace around to the side, gets the power transfer, and now they focus down the Nexus. 33 minutes, easy win for SK Telecom T1. Faker ends the game, 371 CS at 33 minutes. Impressive.
Look over to the gold values, 14,729 gold farmed in 33 minutes, and that wasn't with some sort of crazy kill score. He was only 3-0-1.
He was 4,000 gold above GBM, and it's not like GBM had an abnormally low amount of gold in that mid lane either. Just really, that's what happens. We talk about teams, we say teams prioritize players. Faker was given all of the empty lane farm, tons of jungle camps, and when you get that many resources, you have to deliver. Well, he did.
And he's delivered so consistently, Monte Cristo. This game, it felt like the game kind of played around Faker. He split pushed, he got every resource, he was handed over all the gold and carried very straightforward.